Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified. Here we will take up the news articles from The Hindu Delhi edition and discuss them as per the demands of UPSC Civil Services exam. The topics for today's discussion are listed on your screen. Let us begin our discussion. The first topic of today's discussion is based on this news which featured on page number 2 in The Hindu. Delhi High Court has instructed the Municipal Corporation of Delhi to conduct monthly inspections of eateries and has also issued a warning that any eatery found to be encroaching on public roads will face a fine of rupees 10,000. Now this decision came in response to a petition that demanded the sealing of such establishments due to their public nuisance in residential areas. This topic is directly related to urbanization and its problems, and it is a part of our main syllabus of General Studies Paper 1. Today we will thoroughly analyze the aspects of urbanization in India, which includes the status of urbanization in India, reasons for its growth, social consequences of urbanization, the issues associated with urbanization, what are the government steps regarding sustainable urbanization, and a way forward. This topic is highly relevant for mains exam. As you can see, it is repeatedly asked in UPSC mains exam in one or another form. In 2016, two questions have been asked related to urbanization. The first question says, the major cities of India are becoming vulnerable to flood conditions. The second one talks about Smart Cities program. A question on urban mass transport has been asked, and in 2021, the socio-economic implications of IT industries in major cities of India was asked by UPSC, which makes this topic important for our discussion. Now, first of all, let us try to understand what urbanization means. Urbanization refers to the process of people moving from rural to urban areas or cities, resulting in growth and development of cities. Further, it involves an increase in proportion of country's population in urban areas, as well as the physical expansion of cities to accommodate this growth. You can write this definition as introduction if a question on urbanization appears. Now we will try to see what is the status of urbanization in India. You can note down these data points which can help you in fetching marks in mains exam. According to Census 2011, urban areas account just for the 3% of the land of India and 31% population of the country. Further, it contributes 60% to the national GDP. Urban areas plays an important role in the economic growth of India. The second one is United Nations World Urbanization Prospects 2018 says that the urban population in India may reach 50% by 2050. You can quote these data points while writing a question on urbanization. Now let us try to analyze the factors which has led to the growth of urbanization in India. The first one is industrialization. The growth of manufacturing and industry in India has led to the creation of new jobs which attracts people from rural areas. It is one of the important reasons for urbanization in India. The second one is modernization. With the spread of modern technology and communication, urban areas offer better access to information and facilities like healthcare, education, and entertainment. The third one is rural-urban migration. The migration of people from rural to urban areas in search of better job opportunities and living standards has been significant driver for urbanization in India. The fourth one is population growth. India's population has been growing rapidly, and by the recent estimate of United Nations, India has become the most populous country in the world, and it has put pressure on rural areas to provide basic amenities and infrastructure, which leads to migration to urban areas. Hence, population growth is an important factor in urbanization. The next one is infrastructure development. Improved transportation, communication, and other infrastructure in urban areas have made them more attractive for living and doing business. The next one is government policies. The government has implemented policies to promote urbanization and provide basic amenities like housing through Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, sanitation through Swachh Bharat Mission, and water supply through Jal Jeevan Mission. So, these factors play an important role in promoting urbanization. And the last one is globalization. The growth of global economy has led to development of new industries, increased trade, which leads to create more opportunities for job in urban areas. We have discussed 7 factors which led to the growth of urbanization in India. Just try to remember these points as you can use them while writing mains answers. Taking forward our discussion, let us try to look at the social consequences of urbanization. Why this area is important? Nowadays, UPSC is asking specific questions related to different phenomena, like we have seen in this slide. The first one is family. Urbanization affected the family structure and size, and joint families are now replaced by nuclear families, and the size of family has also been shrinking. Further, the rapid changing value system in urban areas like individualism, consumerism often results in intergeneration strain. The next one is caste. The caste identity tends to diminish with urbanization due to the creation of jobs in IT sector, which focuses more on merit and rather than caste. Further, the class ties are given more emphasis than caste ties in urban areas, which is more prevalent in areas like Delhi, Bombay and Bangalore. The next one is status of women. Increasing number of women in white collar jobs due to increased access to education, it has helped in enhancing their social and economic status, which enabled them to take decisions on fertility and family size. It is an important social consequence of urbanization, and it has changed the lives of millions of women who are living in urban areas. And in today's time, they are more empowered, well informed, and financially stable. The last one is culture. Urban areas are often called as melting pot of people with diverse ethnic, linguistic, and religious backgrounds. Also, urban population express distinct culture in terms of food and dressing patterns. And in this respect, we often hear a term like Gen Z. As we have discussed the social consequences of urbanization, now we should try to understand the issues associated with urbanization. Broadly, these are the issues which are associated with urbanization. The first one is housing crisis, another one is water crisis, next one is urban transport, waste management, pollution, vulnerable to disasters, and social problems. Now let us try to understand these issues in detail. The first one here is overcrowding. Due to the limited carrying capacity of urban areas, it leads to congestion and pollution, which further increase the burden over limited natural resources of urban areas. The second one is lack of adequate town planning. Master plans are critical instruments for managing urbanization as they guide and regulate the present and future utilization of land, expansion, and zoning. But half of our statutory towns are expanding without any master plan. Further, the perspective planning is also missing. Now, what does this mean? It means that a long term planning should be there to accommodate the needs of people after 20 or 30 years. It is an important aspect of urban planning. The next one is enhanced sense of relative deprivation. Many people who migrated from rural to urban areas feels the relative deprivation due to the inequalities which are prevalent in urban areas, which give rise to urban crimes such as human trafficking, sexual assault, or child labor. And why more crimes are happening in urban areas? The major reason behind it is anonymity, which urban areas provide to people. There is also increasing isolation in urban areas due to high division of labor and specialized nature of work, in which people generally do not know each other but works for a same organization. It can be termed as people are in physical proximity but not in social proximity. The next one is suboptimal utilization of land. Due to fragmented and poorly recorded ownership of urban land, multiple PSUs, urban local bodies, own land under their jurisdiction. And for a city to develop holistically, planning for each land parcel needs to fall into one comprehensive spatial strategy, which is not possible in such scenario. The next one is pressure on basic infrastructure. Due to the increased influx of people to urban areas, the basic infrastructure of cities is under pressure, which results into unaffordable rent, inadequate health and education infrastructure. The next one is environmental degradation. With increasing pressure on urban areas, we are witnessing the phenomena of urban heat islands in most of the cities of India. And other issues include inadequate drainage, to which Mumbai is a classical example. And you can also quote the Basai wetland degradation issue. It is a wetland in Gurugram which is degraded due to construction activities like housing. The next one is unplanned growth of slums. As per the census 2011, 65 million people are living in slums. And most of these slums are based in Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, and Bangalore, which are also known as hub of IT industries. The last one is poor city planning for disaster mitigation. The Chennai floods of 2015 has happened due to the encroachment of lakes and riverbeds. And it has happened due to the poor city planning, which makes the urban areas more prone to the disasters like flood. And the best practice in this regard is Japan. It invested heavily in disaster resilient infrastructure. Just try to remember this example. We have broadly discussed the issues associated with urbanization. Now let us try to focus on the steps which Government of India has taken to manage urbanization in India. The first one is Smart Cities Mission. The objective of this mission is to develop around 100 smart cities across the country and make them citizen friendly and sustainable. The second one is Amrut. It aimed at providing the basic civic amenities like water supply, transportation, and sewerage in order to improve the quality of life, especially for poor and disadvantaged people. The next one is National Mission on Sustainable Habitat. It is one of the 8 climate missions of Government of India under National Action Plan on Climate Change. It was formulated to make cities sustainable through improvements in energy efficiency in buildings, management of solid waste, and to improve the public transport. The next one is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. It is a flagship mission to address the urban housing shortage among lower income groups by ensuring a Pakka house to all eligible urban households. And the last point is Niti Aayog's recommendation. It recommended 500 priority cities to be included in competitive framework to adopt participatory planning and focus group discussions to assess the needs and aspirations of citizens. Here we have discussed the government steps in managing the urbanization. Now what should be the way forward to manage urbanization in India? The first one is circular economy. Government should adopt a circular economy system to minimize the negative impacts on environment. The next one is we need to learn from the global best practices. For example, Singapore, which was raised through firm political leadership, professional approach, and intelligently created capacities. You can quote this example in your answer. The next one is census towns under governance. As census town is a one whose population has attained urban characteristics, but they are still governed as rural entities. They should be planning interventions to bring census towns under urban governance. The next one is private sector partnership. Government should foster the partnership with private sector companies and leverage their problem solving capacities to provide innovative solutions to the public sector and good quality jobs to future urban professionals. The next one is sustainable infrastructure. There is need to invest in sustainable infrastructure that promotes clean and renewable energy, water and sanitation, waste management, and efficient transportation. The last one is prevent distress migration. In order to do that, we need to focus on urbanization. That means providing urban-like facilities in rural areas. So in this way, you can conclude your answer on urbanization. Overall, a sustainable urbanization strategy should prioritize people and their quality of life to foster economic and social development. And by aligning with SDG 11, we can work towards creating cities and human settlements that are inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable for all. To summarize our discussion, firstly, we have discussed the context and its relevance for the UPSC mains exam. We have seen the previous year questions, the definition of urbanization, some data points, the factors which led to the growth of urbanization, social consequences, issues associated with urbanization, government steps, and a way forward. After this discussion, I hope that you will be able to write a decent answer to these questions. The next topic of today's discussion is based on this news, which featured on page number 8 in The Hindu. It basically talks about India's first national water body census. And this census was conducted by Ministry of Jal Shakti and its findings was published recently. Now why this census was conducted? It is because India is facing a water crisis on multiple fronts like depleting groundwater, biodiversity loss, and increased frequency of floods and droughts. For that reason, to assess the water level, this census was conducted. And this topic is relevant for General Studies paper 3 and General Studies paper 1 because water is directly related to environment and geography. And in this discussion, we will try to analyze the challenges with the water management, the issues with the water scarcity, and the suggestions for sustainable water future. The importance of this topic can be highlighted from these questions. In 2018, a question on depleting groundwater resources was asked in General Studies paper 1, and in 2020, the salient features of Jal Shakti Abhiyan was asked in General Studies paper 3. First of all, we will try to analyze the water situation in India through Niti Aayog's report. Niti Aayog's Composite Water Index report emphasized on water stress in India, and the findings of this report are as follows. The first one is about 3/4 of the households in the country do not have drinking water access at their premise, and about 82% of rural households in India do not have individual piped water supply. So it is an important finding. The second one is with nearly 70% of the water resources being contaminated in India, which places India at 120th position among 122 countries in the water quality index. The third one is almost 2 lakh people die in India due to lack of access of drinking water. You can mention these findings in your answers. Now, what are the structural challenges in water management in India? The first one is limited water availability. Now, what does this mean? India has world's 4% of fresh water resources, but it accounts for 17% of the world's population, which creates a huge mismatch in supply and demand. The second one is dependence on monsoon. Much of India's precipitation is concentrated in the months from June to September. This means that during other months, water needs must be fulfilled by storing water that comes down in monsoon season. These are two important structural challenges in water management. The other challenges in water management are as follows. The first one is climate change. Climate change is expected to increase the complexity around water due to changing patterns of rainfall, intensity of precipitation, and changes in discharge of rivers. The next one is crisis of water. India is witnessing a consistent decline in the groundwater levels since 1998, and especially in Punjab, the groundwater level has fallen by more than 10 meter 1998 to 2018. And the next one is water quality concerns. More than half of the rivers in India are highly polluted, and according to the World Bank, 21% of the communicable diseases are linked to unsafe water. Crisis of water is an important challenge in water management. The next one is inefficient water usage. As we all know, the agriculture sector consumes most of the water in India, and water use efficiency is very low in India, with most of the farmers still practicing flood irrigation and planting water guzzling crops such as sugarcane and rice. Further, India's industrial water footprint is one of the highest in the world. One more subpoint under this is the export of virtual water. As India is exporting water intensive crops such as rice and sugar, indirectly we are exporting water. The next challenge is supply side intervention. India is running out of sites for further construction of large dams. Moreover, the water stored in dams fail to reach farmers mainly due to poor canal linkages. Hence, it is another important challenge for water management. The last one is water governance. Water resource management is fragmented and inadequate. Under 7th schedule, the water issue falls in state list and the interstate water falls in central list. Hence, it results into mismanagement of water resources. So, we have broadly discussed the challenges in water management. Now, to take forward our discussion, we will discuss the issues with the water scarcity. The first one is social and political risks. The depleting access to clean water impacts food security and health, and it can cause social unrest and political instability. It is an important issue. The next one is threat to urbanization. Urban hubs are likely to witness severe water shortage in future, as per the reports of Niti Aayog and World Bank, which could risk the urban growth in India and reduce the quality of life of urban citizens. The next one is risk to sustainable industrial activity. Water shortage can hamper industrial operations and other economic activities like capacity utilization, and it can further impact the investments in the regions which are facing the problem of water scarcity. The next one is energy shortage. 70% of India's thermal plants are likely to face high water stress by 2030. Most of the energy comes from thermal plants, hence it will pose a new challenge of energy security in front of government. The next one is environmental risk. Recently, many initiatives have been taken to create additional water resources in eco-friendly zones, and the rich biodiversity of India faces a serious threat from such activities. The last one is desertification risk. Around 30% of India's land is impacted by desertification and land degradation, and this outcome is strongly linked to poor water management. What can be the way forward for sustainable water future? The first one is water pricing. There should be effective water pricing with subsidized water supply for basic water needs of drinking and household needs. And setting up of water meters at all levels across the distribution network should be done. The next one is promoting the use of wastewater. High priority should be given to recycle and reuse the wastewater. Wastewater can be used in thermal power plants and industrial establishments. This will also reduce India's industrial water footprint. And in urban areas, for non-potable uses such as flushing, fire protection, vehicle washing, wastewater can be used. The next one is increasing water use efficiency in agriculture. There should be greater market support for water efficient crops in water constrained areas along with crop diversification. Further, we need to disincentivize the cultivation of water intensive crops in states like Maharashtra, Punjab and Haryana. The next one is nature based solutions. There should be thrust on local water harvesting to meet the water needs of nearby areas. Further, there should be restoration of water bodies like rivers and streams. And there should be construction of wetlands, which plays an important role in sustainable natural drainage. And the last one is water governance. There is a need to break the silos. There is need to break the silos into which issues related to water is divided. And a National Water Commission advised by Meher Shah Committee should be formed. There should be creation and empowerment of water user association and panchayats in taking up water issues and regulation. It will further help in raising awareness among people and their participation in the management of water resources. In this way, you can conclude your answer on questions related to water. Before concluding our discussion for this topic, let us quickly look at the initiatives of government which are related to water. The first one is Jal Jeevan Mission. Second one is Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Third one is Amrut 2.0 scheme. Fourth one is Sahi Fasal campaign. The fifth one is Jal Shakti Abhiyan. And the last one is Atal Bhujal Yojana. You can use such schemes and initiatives to enrich your answer. To summarize our discussion, first of all, we have discussed the context and its relevance for the UPSC mains exam. We have seen the previous year questions, the Niti Aayog's report, structural challenges in water management, other challenges in water management, the issues with the water scarcity, suggestions for sustainable water future, and finally, the government initiatives. The next topic of today's discussion is based on this news which featured on page number 4 in The Hindu. It basically talks about the election which is going to be held in the state of Karnataka. The topic of election is relevant for General Studies paper 2. Indian electoral politics and their issues is a recurring theme in UPSC mains exam, which makes this area important for our discussion. In 2018, a question on EVM machines was asked. In 2022, the role of Election Commission in the evolution of Model Code of Conduct was asked. And in the same year, a question on Representation of People's Act 1951 was also asked. In today's discussion, we will discuss the numerous issues in Indian electoral politics which directly or indirectly influence the electoral politics, and we'll also provide a way forward. Before moving on to the topic of discussion, let us have a look at Election Commission. Election Commission is constituted under Article 324 of the Indian Constitution. Article 324 provides for the appointment of Election Commission for superintendence, direction and control of elections. Further, the Commission shall be all India body having jurisdiction over elections to Parliament, State Legislature, offices of President and Vice President. And it is an autonomous and independent body to ensure the conduct of free and fair elections. It is also the most important arbitrator on holding of elections. Now we will analyze the issues with the electoral process in India. The first one is money and muscle power. These are the serious issues in Indian electoral politics, as in every election, candidates have to spend unlimited amount for their election campaign and publicity. And moreover, criminal candidates also use their muscle power for booth capturing. The next one is misuse of government machinery. There is a common perception that the party who is in power misuse the government machinery or the agencies, especially ED, CBI and income tax, to threaten their opponents for winning elections. There is also a perception that ruling party misuses public property, government vehicles for canvassing or advertising to improve their chances of winning. The next one is casteism. Caste system in Indian political system is deeply rooted, and there is a common consensus that particular caste supports a particular political party. And here comes the issue of vote bank. Due to the prevalence of caste system in India, political parties use caste as a tool to increase their vote bank. Moreover, candidates as well as voters try to pressurize political parties to offer tickets from their caste groups. It is an important issue in the electoral process in India. The next one is communalism. It is one of the serious issues in the Indian political system. It also threatens the integrity and secular character of our country. And there are many political parties who try to polarize the voters through hate speeches or other communal activities. The last one is lack of moral values. Corruption is one of the serious issues which is prevalent in Indian political system, which has made politics like a business. And there are many politicians who are doing work for making money and thinking only for themselves. Hence, there is a lack of ideology and morality in Indian political party. As we have discussed the issues, now what can be the way forward to improve this system? The first one is we need electoral reforms. India needs to bring in major electoral reforms to ensure free, fair and transparent elections. And these reforms are needed in the field of criminalization of politics and the use of technology in voting process. The second one is voter education. There is a need to educate voters about the importance of their vote and the electoral process, and this can be achieved through voter awareness campaigns, civic education programs and the use of social media. The third one is electoral roll. The electoral roll should be updated regularly to ensure that there is accurate and up-to-date data, as it would help in preventing the voting frauds and ensure that only the eligible voters are able to exercise their right to vote. The fourth one is related to EVM. Although the use of EVM has brought in greater efficiency and transparency to voting process, there is a need to ensure that EVMs are tamper-proof and secure. It is crucial to build the trust of voters in the system. The next one is public funding of political parties. Recently, ADR report has said that majority of the funding of political parties comes from unknown sources, which creates a loophole in funding of political parties through black money. And Inderjeet Gupta committee has recommended that government should consider the public funding of political parties to reduce their dependence on private funding, and it will also create level playing field. The next one is women participation. There is a need to encourage greater participation of women in electoral process. This can be achieved through campaigns and women empowerment. And the last one is monitoring and enforcement. The election commission should have greater powers to monitor and enforce electoral laws and regulations. This would help to ensure that the electoral process is fair and transparent. The electoral process requires a multi-pronged approach to maintain the sanctity of elections, which includes removing the criminal elements in politics, introducing internal democracy, and financial transparency in the functioning of political parties. So, in this way, you can conclude your answer on electoral process. To summarize our discussion, first of all, we have discussed the context, its relevance for UPSC mains exam. We have also seen the previous year questions, the Election Commission of India. We have discussed the issues in electoral process in India and a way forward. Now we will discuss one case study on this particular issue, on which a news has featured on page number 1 in The Hindu. It basically talks about the protest of wrestlers against sexual harassment of female players between the period of 2012 to 2022, and they are demanding the arrest of the accused. In this case, it seems that police is favoring the accused due to undue political pressure, and there can be a case study in the exam on such incident in which you are appointed as a head of investigating team. This area is important under General Studies paper 4, in which UPSC asks case studies on societal issues. Now, a hypothetical case study can be framed. Let us assume there is a person named Shrikant Verma who has been elected to parliament 6 times, and he is also the president of Wrestling Federation of India. He is a politically strong man, and there are certain allegations on him. The first one is financial mismanagement, and the second one is sexual harassment against female players. Many people have came up for the support of wrestlers who are protesting against this person, and in that scenario, you are an IPS officer who has been made the head of investigating team. In this case, you need to identify the ethical issues involved, the options available before you, and the course of action which you will be going to take to resolve this matter. So whenever you solve the case study, first try to highlight the stakeholders which are involved in that particular case. It is important because if you will write the stakeholders, you will not miss the important players in the case. The first one is obviously the Chief of Wrestling Federation of India. The second is wrestlers. The third is government. The fourth is political party to which that person is a member. And the fifth one is the IPS officer who is heading the investigating team. So what can be the ethical issues? The first one is misuse of authority. In this case, Shrikant Verma and other officials have misused their authority to obtain sexual pleasure from women players. The second one is denial of duty. As in this case, police has refused to register FIR against Shrikant, hence police is running away from its duty. And the third one is erosion of trust in the institution. In this case, wrestlers have organized a protest because no institution is paying heed to their concerns. It showcased the erosion of trust in the government institutions. These are the 3 broad issues which are involved in the case. Now we will analyze the options available before the investigating officer. The first one is investigate the matter without any fear. And the second one is seeking guidance from seniors. And the third one is leave the case and get transferred. One more thing which I want to highlight, nowadays UPSC is asking lengthy case studies, and in such cases, the scope is very less to explain the options if it is not asked explicitly. So you can avoid the explanation if a case is very lengthy. Now we will critically evaluate the options which are available before us. The first option says investigating the matter without any fear. The merit of this case is that by doing so, one will fulfill his duty to which he is assigned. And the demerit of this case is that it may harm the life and career of that officer because the accused is a political strongman. The second option was seeking the guidance from seniors. The merit of this option is he or she will get guidance and motivation from the senior, and it will also help him or her to go further in the investigation. And the demerit is the seniors may misguide the investigating officers, as the accused is a veteran political and administrator who can exercise his influence on senior officers. The third one is leave the case. The merit of this case is that it will help in securing the interest of the officer. He or she will be removed from that particular case which involves a political strong man. And the demerit of this case is that it is similar to the denial of duty and it shows the lack of integrity on the part of officer. In this way, you can evaluate the options which are available before you. Now, what should be the course of action in this particular case? One should go with the option first to investigate the matter without any fear, as it will help in ensuring justice for victims and women empowerment, which should be the realization of one's ideals on real ground. And it will also increase the trust of public in government institutions. Further, one can create a role model for other civil servants so that they can take due action against any such criminal. And lastly, it will help in realizing the principle of constitutional morality. In this way, you can conclude your answer by writing a detailed course of action of the option which you will choose. Further, administration should be prompt and pro-people in its functioning so that people can feel safe and secure.